What's up, dudes and dudettes of the internet? My name's Seth, and today we're going to be taking a look at AereA? Yeah, let's just say that that's what it is. So this game's actually really interesting. It's kind of like a four-player, I guess I would kind of say it's like a Diablo-style game, if not more similar to Gauntlet Legends or something like that. But the fact that it's four-player is really cool, and for the most part, like that definitely seems to be where the bulk of the content would be. Playing it on your own might not be the best actual experience, but that's what we're gonna be doing today. So in any case, folks, I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I hope this video makes your day even better. So we've got 4 different characters we can choose from. The melee character, which is what we're going to mess with. A ranged character, which all the ranged characters, like, there doesn't seem to be any twin stick controls, at least with a controller. So I generally find it to be very difficult to kite in this game, because I don't really know if there's any way that you can turn your character any way that you want, right? But then there's going to be the mage character is another ranged character, and then a gun character, which is another ranged character. So we got 3 ranged characters and 1 melee fighter, which is a bit odd. I'm assuming that the skills that you're gonna get with the characters, like their special abilities, is where it's going to kind of really separate them, because as far as the core gameplay is concerned, all of these characters pretty much play the exact same, except for the melee character. So we're gonna be messing around on him, and I do want to point out too that anytime you load your file, your character's like level and instrument level and stats and everything like that, we'll get into the instrument level in a bit, all of those are going to end up carrying over. So it's like you could end up loading your file, and maybe you want to load up a different character and start in the weaker dungeons again. You can go ahead and do that and just kind of have like 1 main character and then the other side characters, which of course is also to do with if you're playing the game co-op and stuff like that. Let me get the mouse out of the way. So, hello students, don't remember my name's Eleanor Rigby, I think. I will be teaching you today instead of the Great Maestro Guido or something. Guido? I don't know. Walk around a bit and talk to me. Okay, so immediately, yes, I want the tutorial. Thank you very much. Interacting with a bunch of stuff in the environment, very standard. Boop, 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 boop. We got our basic attack, which with this character is just going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we've got pressing B is going to make us block. And this character, we can choose whatever direction we want to end up blocking. While all the ranged characters all have the same kind of kick attack that just kind of forces enemies back. I haven't gotten to any special abilities of the characters, and we're not gonna get to do any of that today, unfortunately. I don't think we're probably just gonna get to do the one starting sewer dungeon and explain a little bit more of the gameplay before we end up calling it. But the thing that's actually kind of interesting about this game is it's all music themed. So a lot of the enemies that you'll end up fighting later on are going to be like one of them that I thought was so interesting is it's like a cobra, but it's side, like, stripes or whatever that's actually called on the cobra are actually like a piano notes. So so really weird, unique enemies and designs and stuff like that. Not to mention the fact that our characters themselves, you know, even right now, we're kind of like, it's kind of like a mix for a melee character. We're kind of using, you know, the bow for like a violin or something like that, and our shield in itself kind of looks more like a cello. So there's going to be different ways of navigating the environment as far as like fast traveling, if you want to call it that. Most of all, the game is going to be very level based. So as we go over here, they're going to try and show us the travel counter. I don't know, like the tutorials I find really weird in this game, because right now it tells us about the travel counter, but the travel counter is somewhere completely different than here. It's actually this thing that was just talking to us and just giving us a random tip, not something relevant to what we're actually doing just yet, right? So there's the maestro up there hanging out, and we're gonna talk to this guy who's actually telling us to go into the sewers to take care of some baddies, because the maestro doesn't know what's going on with some weird sounds in the sewers, and well, the sewers are going to end up having a bunch of cicadas or something like that. So we'll go and get that quest done, and then we'll get to, then I'll get to kind of show you the inventory system and the shops and stuff like that before we end up calling it. But the game itself, once we end up actually getting into the bulk of the dungeons, because this area kind of acts as the hub. So you're gonna be able to wander around here, change your stats and everything like that, go to the store and whatever else. And then that character up there The one in the top middle, that's going to end up being the character that we just got a tip about, that's going to control the airships and kind of travel us around the environment. And when I say travel around the environment, I mean, very simply put, choose our levels and stages and stuff. So we'll get into all of this XP and stuff later, but there's actually going to be 2 different experience bars. There's going to be one for our character, which is going to be related to our skills and stuff like that, or maybe our stats, I mean. And then there's going to be our weapon is going to have separate stats as well. So I don't know if that has to do with, like, maybe you can end up getting different weapons later on, and you would level those up from square one, so it kind of adds an Infinium style of play to the game, where you might have your character maxed out, but you might get a new instrument that's like a legendary tier or something, and it would start at level 1? I'm assuming that's what it is, but honestly, I haven't actually gotten that far. Okay, so this is where things get a little bit important. You can pause the video to see all the different menus right here and there, but there's going to be the character portrait, which is, of course, mostly important for when you're playing multiplayer, your character's level, your character experience, your health points, rhythm points, which is your mana, instrument and experience, your items, inventory, skills, confines, which is currency, and character tag color, which is going to be the color that you actually see around our character right here. So you can take a look at all of that stuff yourselves, because I don't want to explain every single detail about all of that stuff. So now we're in the dungeon where it's actually telling us about traps. Again, I don't know why it's telling us about traps, because we haven't gotten to that point yet. Like, the traps we actually find a little bit later. However, I am noticing immediately that this melee fighter is a lot stronger than the ranged characters that I was using, because when I was using the ranged characters, I could only, like, it would take like 2 or 3 hits to actually destroy them. So that, as the music notes that we're getting, that's a currency in the game that you end up using at the shop and stuff. And the shop actually does tell us, which is pretty cool, that as you're kind of exploring the environment and beat unique enemies and stuff like that, you kind of end up having a chance of getting a recipe drop, and recipe drops are going to end up unlocking more things that you can end up then buying from the store. So all these doors are locked, by the way. That's what the game's trying to tell us, and they're going to end up activating somehow. I wonder how. Most doors are going to end up just opening by fighting enemies, but there's going to end up being some levers like this, which is pretty standard for most RPGs. And the tip that I was trying to give us was telling us about a teleportation station. We'll get to that in a couple minutes, because again, for some reason, this game seems to give you tips preemptively. But I do like how easy the game is. I like how approachable it is. Most of all, I think it would be a lot of fun to actually play this with some friends. Like, that would be where it's at. I don't know whether or not you can all play as the same character, though, because, you know, I haven't tried that or anything. So see, now it's giving us a tip about the lever that we just used 2 seconds ago. Like, okay, whatever. It's just, it's not like it's bad. The tips are actually really good. I just don't quite understand why it's giving them to us in the order that it is, you know? So now we can actually go down here and get these mystery boxes, which these are just going to end up giving us items, which are consumables. You can see that in the bottom left, kind of right down here. We've got ones that we can use for mana, which is this thing right here. We've got ones that we can use just for healing potions. And then as we come up here, music energy altar. See, again, it's telling us to move the energy altar into a location in order to actually open a specific door. We'll get to that in a minute. We're not actually beside it. I think it's just trying to tell us that that door to our right is actually going to end up being one of those that requires the music altar or whatever it's called. I hope I don't have to defeat those guys. Yes, I definitely do. Okay, rip me. You also gotta be careful too, because sometimes the quest will actually try to give you a bunch of items, and if it doesn't actually, like, if your inventory is full, you're not going to be able to get the item until you end up going back to town, because then it's going to throw it into your personal stash. So, like, for right now, I'm just going to use one of these potions just because I want to grab that. There we go, before it ended up despawning. And here is that teleportation station, but for some reason it's telling us about clefines or whatever, which is just the currency for potions and a bunch of our weapons and stuff like that, right? So this is the teleportation station, which warped us into a different area that we now have to get out of in order to come back. So there's going to be teleportation stations in other areas that might end up teleporting you to a more dangerous zone, and you gotta really be careful about that because it's kind of like challenge rooms. The levels themselves, they're not like random generated or anything, near as I can tell. You know, this is the same as same map that I was messing around with in testing, so I'm pretty sure it's just like a full-on single player or local multiplayer experience all the way straight to the end. So that was also that music note box thing that we were supposed to push into the proper location. Now we're actually back in the starting room, and a lot of the enemies do end up reappearing, but thankfully if a door is unlocked, I think it's unlocked permanently, so we don't need to worry about like killing every single enemy. Of course you could do that just for the experience, but not only that, also just because it's going to end up giving you more currency, which is always important, right? So as we come up here, now this is going to be our exit to the level. Instrument level. Level your instruments and gain attribute points that can be spent to strengthen your instrument. Yeah, so I think it is individual to the instrument itself, unless it's that you could take an instrument and put it on a different character. I don't exactly know. But this is going to warp us to the main quest zone area. These are those cicadas that we were talking about, which they're a different enemy type. You know, they kind of dash at you, but for the most part, you know, especially if you're a ranged enemy, if you're a ranged character, you're gonna be able to shoot the enemies off the screen. Airship port is going to end up taking us back to town. We'll just kind of ignore these traps and skip right through them. We could end up exploring the environment a little bit more. There are secret treasures and stuff like that, so it's definitely recommended. You can also revisit areas so that you can end up, you know, coming back and getting more gear and more loot and more prepared for the next zone and stuff like that, right? But otherwise, now we are done with that first dungeon. We did it in record time, thank goodness, because the first time playing through, I was having a little bit of trouble with it. And now we actually completed the quest about the cicadas, and then this dude is actually telling us to... I know. It's okay. It's okay. Can you shut up? Don't have him do the same huge dialogue of text if I accidentally talk to him. Not to mention, if you're playing local co-op, you could troll your friends by talking to the NPCs over and over. So now they're actually showing us attributes. Every skilled musician can use a few attributes to strengthen their instruments and themselves. Make sure to check the green chest and upgrade the attributes of your instrument. Except I can't because I haven't actually leveled anything. So this character is going to also be telling us about the shop. So the character beside us, the girl that's in the dress, she's actually the shop. And then that other character we just talked to was like the sister who gave us a bunch of free potions and stuff just to kind of get the point across. Let's see, can we actually interact with you or no? So the way that it works, I'll go and talk to this dude right here because he actually tells us that you can level up your attributes in the green chest, buy items in the red chest, and unlock and upgrade skills in the blue chest. So we're not gonna get to do any of that, but in the green chest, this is where you can see these are all, you know, Wolf is the different character, that's the archer character, Jules was the mage, Claude was the gun shooting character, right? So this is where each of the characters are going to end up having their own each individual stats that, of course, are going to end up carrying over on your file. So you can end up upgrading like your defense, your accuracy, for crit chance and stuff like that. Red chest is going to be the shop, and as you can see, we don't have, like, a lot of these we have to actually unlock by going through the adventure. There's going to be splash potions, elixirs, crystals, and stuff like that. And then, of course, last but not least, this is going to be for your spells and special abilities, which, again, we don't have any of these. It seems like each of the characters are going to have a different set amount because as Jakku's whatever, we actually seem to have 5 because I can't go to that bottom right slot. And then you could equip 3 different spells at a time. So unfortunately, we didn't get to mess around with any of that stuff, but in any case, a very cool game to check out, to say the least. Links will be in the description. If you have friends to play it, get it. If you're just playing it on your own, hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not it's something that you're interested in. Otherwise, I would very much appreciate if you would like, share, favorite, and subscribe for more daily content. Sign away and stay epic, everybody.